You wonder what's happening. It's uncharacteristic, I suppose is the word I'll use.
It's a new patch, new meta. 1.24, of course, is the patch that we're currently on. A couple of new members on the Mega squad as well. Yut's out of the picture. Pichu's in now from Bizarre, I believe. And Saijin God's gone over to Xavier, which means we have new member Mushroom in the mix as well. So for Mega, trying to find their feet, but they're a team that you feel like with their level of experience should be able to find their feet quite quickly.
You certainly would think so. But you never know. They do have most of that core. Watt's still in that main tank role. Player that really brought new life to the team back in the days of being Fireball. But at any rate, it's been a long time since they went under that name, and well, evidently times have changed. Let's see if they can maybe bring back some of that mojo here as we move on to Volskaya.
Talked a lot about Apudo's ability to play make in this team, but it's a blessing and a curse because it's usually been at the cost of some of the other members unable to make those same level of plays, and Omega making their way around that left side. Sort of find some targets.
You see NZNR quite a ways off to the side compared to the rest of his team. Not sure quite what they're planning here. Maybe looking to just
taking a big flank.
Yeah, looking to get some pressure up on this high ground, but it does leave him quite vulnerable and also leaves the rest of the team theoretically in a 5 versus 6, and it's exactly that situation. It's just saw them getting punished, but no good response. They get the res in and they drop perfect. They're going to trade that 1-1 for 1. Mega really need to make a bit more headway here. There we go. The catch on Lee J God is the opening that they need, but they need to now start dealing with Crazy and Perfect. If they're allowed too much time, they will start going off, I say, as Crazy dives in on the Swift strike.
Fast play.
And yeah, fast play does get taken down though by Pichu. Apparently Pichu's the one who's going to carry the team through this one. They also want to be popping Ashvik here. Ideally, they do have the closer respawn. They should be able to start flooding back onto this point now.
I do want to speak towards this Widowmaker Genji composition as well. It's getting a lot of popularity among Korean teams. We saw a bit of this, I said yesterday, in Group A with the other 2 Korean teams. But right now, a lot of what this comes down to is Perfect landing a really nice shot. If it's a headshot, it's killed. If it's a body shot, Crazy follows up, gets a dash kill himself, and MS or Monster Shield Korea here can get a nice player lead. But currently, they do lose A.
That being said, one thing I'm quite liking is NZNR willing to just straight go toe-to-toe with Perfect there. Knowing full well that Crazy is wanting to keep his attention more around the other members of Mega, and NZNR is happy to just use the shield to protect the old head. He knows if he can get close enough, he can get a stun in. Apudo went down to a headshot there. He's definitely not going to let that go unanswered.
Crazy's also gone onto the Brigida pick as well, so basically exact same compositions on either side, except that Watt is playing the Reinhardt. We'll see if Mega can really, again, make some headway onto this point. They just got to wait for Apudo to do the damage first. But if they can follow on, if they have the ability to follow up on that, will be the real question.
This is a big engage here that they're looking to dive straight in on, but as the shields go to ground, Apudo is exposed on the high ground, and despite the rally, NZNR finds his health getting burned through. Actually, that's a lie. He did not rally. I think that was just the little bloom from an armor pack going on to Watt. But at any rate, pretty easy defense there from Monster Shield. It feels like Mega didn't really put up much of a fight.
Well, they had a pretty easy defense on B nearly the whole time, right? It's always been Perfect getting a snipe onto Apudo, Apudo getting a res, dies again to Perfect, and then like the counterparts taking each other out, it's Crazy killing NZNR, and now Apudo goes on to a new hero. With this Hanzo pick, maybe Mega can be a little bit more, take a little bit more initiative and push a little bit quicker, find a little bit more in terms of the opportunities.
Yeah, I'm really liking the Hanzo here compared to the Widow. You just get that extra bit of mobility. You've still got the reasonable pick potential, the damage output, all that jazz. But I think more importantly, you've got Dragon Strike as an ultimate. Once that's available, it can really disrupt any of MSKR's positioning. And you already see as a response to that, Perfect, he's off the Widowmaker, he's gone straight on to a Pharah. Yeah, Shatter out, self-destruct up as well. Perfect is going Hunter Killer on Mushroom, finds him as he's remeching, and that self-destruct didn't get any kills either. Now Mega kind of up a creek without a paddle here, unfortunately lacking too hard in the support and tank departments both, and indeed hemorrhaging members at this juncture. Finally killing Perfect, but it will be the only kill they get in the fight. Mega just going to have to take stock of that one and try again next time.
Next time is going to be a little bit more difficult. They don't have the same ultimates that they did in that previous fight. Going up against a lot of armor here as well. Crazy rallying of the troops on that defense. And now for Mega, changing up a little bit of this composition. Mushroom onto the Zarya. Inzana going to go onto the Hog as well. Look out for the combo. That's probably going to be the win condition for Mega, but they're still so just far away from it.
That's one of the most powerful things about Rally, you know, is the fact that you are happy to just pop it in that space where the other team is regrouping. You're still going to have that armor by the time they get up to you, and you're going to have another 7% worth of ult charge. It's the little things that do add up. So, that all aside, this is about as close as you're going to get to an even fight in terms of ultimates, but the impact that Rally is still there. That armor will make a difference unless Mega really get good picks.
Oh,
speaking
like
of,
that one.
Yeah, Inev right down. Apudo getting the pressure on. It is hard to land those shots against Perfect and Lee J gone, but he's got one. The res is undoubtedly going to come in there on Perfect. Yeah, there it is. And Inev has also respawned, but Mega have for the first time got themselves onto the point. They are working double time to keep this tanks alive, and between the Valkyrie and the Transcendence, they're able to do just that. Perfect is looking for some kind of shots here. Ash VK though, or Ash Vic, whatever you choose, able to turn that one right back around with a nicely placed self-destruct, and now it is Mega once again on the back foot. Such a great fight that resulted in not even a third.
When you look at the opening of this and you look at Mega's ultimates, the fresh composition, you say, unless they can find some really crazy picks into here, this is just going to be a push where they charge ultimates. They're waiting for the combo opportunities, and this is probably a lost fight. They actually nearly got a third. They actually nearly got enough kills with the hook, with the headshot from Apudo to really threaten Monster Shield, but not going to be the case. They do still get a lot of ultimate charge, so close to that combo than they were before.
It's almost like that Plankton meme, isn't it? Where they're like on the point, they got all the kills, and it's like, what now? I don't know. I didn't think I'd get this far. And they end up not getting anything for it. That's an oversimplification, by the way. Memes tend to be an oversimplification of real-world events. There's the dive in from Monster Shield. Inev kind of leading the charge on that, just trying to cause maximum disruption on this back line. Totally pays off as they're able to pop Pichu.
Oh,
that is the last battery of ultimates that MSKR have at their disposal. Apudo does get a couple of answers back. Ash VK being the most crucial one of those. He's going to be able to remech now, but Mega, they're still taking a long time to pull back from this one. I like the pressure from Monster Shield. They're not going to let Mega get out for free, and that buys MSKR the extra time they need to regroup before Mega's next push.
That's not a bad loss for Mega there. They got rid of a couple of key ultimates. Perfect now going to be swapping onto the mate as well. I feel like they know their installed position. They want to be able to slow down the push coming from Mega. This has to be the Doom push, so Mega don't have time to build up these ults again. We're at the 1 minute mark here. It's do or die, and they have a full 100% worth of progress to cap on through, and that's going to be difficult.
The potential saving grace for Monster Shield here is that Beppo is coming up on a Transcendence. If he dies before that's available, though, that's the window Mega need. There's the grab right in, but they can't follow it up ideally. Kind of just have to throw the Dragon Strike on top of it. It doesn't get many kills.
Too many players are dead.
Down. Yeah, way too many players are dead. Mega not connecting with that combo, not respecting the disruption of the May wall. That was the Doom push. Look at how quickly it got picked apart. Beppo didn't even use the Transcendence.
Now, this is the power of the May wall, right? Because you cut off the supports and the healing from the tanks into the front. So Mega, despite getting off the combo, the same members, equal numbers of members, were traded off on the other side. That's all Monster Shield need to get this defense underway. And now they're going to Transcendence to boot as well. Mega have no ultimates, bar the one Valkyrie. Maybe Pichu gets a trans, but it may not be enough.
And again, Perfect can just keep playing disruption. Threw the wall out to slow down Mega on the approach. Now he can throw it out again so that whoever gets onto the point is going to find themselves with little to no support. It's going to be T1 undoubtedly. Yeah, there it is. He just has to stand on the point alone just so they have overtime. NZNR trying to kill Lee J Gon. Self-destruct out from Ashvik. Doesn't connect, but it doesn't matter. The members of Mega all just far too low. Separating themselves. It's not even Monster Shield pulling them into different positions. It's Mega willingly going on these wild goose chases. The fact that they couldn't all get healed up by a single Transcendence just shows that at work there, and having got no progress on point B, it's not good feelings for Mega there.
You gotta really credit Perfect the creativity coming out from Monster Shield there. Mega couldn't have really known about the change. By the time they see the change, it would have been too late. You want to be able to split off those tanks, particularly when you have a Zarya and Reinhardt. Those guys are really in a bad spot if they do not have line of sight back to their support players. So the combo gets cut in half, gets taken apart. That was such a clever play by Monster Shield that really paid off. And Mega, I mean, It's a big cost, unfortunately, for them. They spent so long, invested so much time in so many pushes, at least 3 pushes, just to get that combo ready to go. By the time they used it, it wasn't even that effective.
The unfortunate reality of that as well here is Mega have to full hold somehow on A, because a tie on Volskaya is a loss in the series because Monster Shield have that 2-map lead. But with how that defense went, I mean, you can see exactly why they have that 2-map lead. Mega just aren't making any headway on most of these pushes. They're getting picked apart. I mean, we call them veterans of the scene, but in a couple of ways here, MSKR are kind of making them look like amateurs.
Just like we saw from EXL Esports and New Paradigm yesterday, Monster Shield, Korea, got to go back to the Widow Genji pick, and I feel like these teams are very well practiced with this by now. It seemed like a little bit of an off strategy the first time we encountered it, but right now, this is how they find those picks in Monster Shield. You kind of said it here as well. They just need to cap A right, and then they force themselves that victory. They earn themselves that victory, rather, because a draw in this case would be a loss for Mega anyway. So if you're going to do that, you just need to find some kills, snowball that momentum, and you've got yourself the win. You can do that quite easily if you get the combos down. Widow make a headshot or Widow make a body shot into a dash from Crazy. That's a pick.
And it completely changes how teams have to position to avoid the DPS danger. Because you can't just go and hide Kawa off alone as a support, or Crazy can and will dive you on their Genji. That's kind of part of how it's working. On top of, like you said, the opportunity to turn body shots into kills that otherwise wouldn't be kills, because the Genji with that mobility can just swift straight through the low health target, get the reset, get back out. It does seem a bit off kilter, but you can see where the power points of it are, and unfortunately these other teams kind of get to learn the tricks of the trade.
Mega need the initiative here to take the fight to MSK because they can't get locked inside this room, which is pretty much what's happening right now. Apudo's already down, doesn't even need help from Crazy. He does come back up, but he's still at risk.
And by the way, I really like this. Yeah, exactly. I really like how they're doing this. Every time Rocket has to go in to res someone, takes his attention away from healing someone. Monster Shield see that happening. They choose that exact same moment to dump damage into a tank, and you see it at play there once again. They distract Rocket and Pichu. They take down T1, and now the pressure is just insurmountable. That's going to be a first point cap going over to Monster Shield. With that, they have secured at least a draw. They are guaranteed to win the series now, no matter what. The question is, will it be a landslide 4-0? Can Mega take this to a draw? Can they take one map back?
And Mega playing slowly. The slow city does not win the race in this case. T1 still playing this Reinhardt here. I'm going to say for B, it's probably acceptable, but onto A, they needed much more proactiveness. They needed the initiative to be able to go onto MSKR. That just didn't happen. You let Monster Shield surround you. You give Perfect the angles, and A's already gone. That means technically they've won, but can Mega save some face here? 6 minutes and 11 seconds to full hold B.
And it's not like they even charged up a lot of ultimates in that defense. Indeed, MSKR charged up far more, and already the dive on Rocket again without really any response. Where are the Mega members protecting these backliners? Because now without Rocket, T1's going to get dropped down. Some of the few ultimates they had just getting to no effect. Pichu able to stay alive, at least thanks to a Transcendence, but Mega are just going to have to start throwing bodies and ultimates at this point. And even then, they aren't even getting kills. That's a decent Earth Shatter, but there's just not really anyone alive to follow it up. They've finally started to tip the balance here, but you compare that to how clinical the defense that Monster Shield was pulling out here was. Mega are struggling by comparison.
It's still technically not over yet. Well, it's over right now, and I guess with that Dream Earthshatter, kind of the sequence of play needed to be an Earthshatter into a bunch of kills. And you kind of sort of said that it didn't feel like there were enough members, but the support players, Pichu and Rocket, putting the rest of the team onto their backs, lands a bunch of damage, just enough to take the.
They made it work.
And now we're down to 5 minutes 05. It's been 1 minute and something gone. And Apudo's been losing the vast majority of these 1v1s.
Apudo is getting Apudo'd here. That's what this. It's normally Apudo doing this. This is unusual. I mean, I don't know if he's having an off night or if it's really just Perfect's own skill. I feel like it's a bit of column A, bit of column B, but it is making a difference here, a massive difference in favor of Monster Shield.
4 minutes 40 now, incoming push. Valkyrie already popped. You know, this is one where Monster Shield definitely want to be able to commit into.
Good catch on Beppo, but the dive taking out both Apuro and NZNR means they were effective.
And Beppo's back.
Yeah, they were both positioned far too close to one another if that's how they both went down. And like you said, it also means that Lee Jae-gon is safe to res Beppo, knowing he can't be headshot out, and already Monster Shield have the point. And again, it's a couple of slight positional things from Mega getting punished. Look at how quickly Apuro and NZNR died back-to-back in that very last fight. You've got two snipers. You want to be covering multiple sightlines there. You want to create crossfire situations. You want to create impossible scenarios where there's nowhere good to position. You can't do that when you're standing right by one another.
This is another thing that we didn't actually quite get to see. We saw it come up into the kill feed, but we didn't see it from Crazy's perspective here. While Mega were going for the Doom push, as we like to call it, or, you know, basically the combo play, the final combo opportunity, and the only one that they've really realistically had. The wall cuts off the supports, and in comes Crazy onto the back line. The tanks cannot heal for the supports cannot heal for the tanks, and Crazy gets a lot of damage and a lot of kills. Takes apart that back line. Meanwhile, the front line is all frozen up.
And this is interesting. I mean, it almost feels like, despite the fact that their tank line on the side of Mega are well enough practiced on all of these heroes, they can play good Reinhardts, they can play good Zaryas, they can play them all very well. It seems to still be that they've kind of lost their way a bit when it comes to peeling for those supports on those tanks. Titawat did an absolutely phenomenal job of it, you know, formerly in big metas where Winston and D.Va were like the tanks only. It was really hard to kill Rocket and the various supports they've had over the times. It's the complete opposite right now. Rocket is often the first casualty, going down to the Winston dive with really no response. It just seems that Mega have kind of lost some of the things that they did have. That does leave me feeling that this isn't like the end of the world. I think they can still tap back into that, but this is certainly not the start to the season that Mega were after. On the other side of that coin, Monster Shield have made one heck of an impression.
This is certainly a great start for Monster Shield. It's 3-0 already. They could make this one a 4-0. Cyclops Athlete Gaming yesterday, it would actually, because we only had 3-1s yesterday. And so Cyclops Athlete Gaming took down Blank in a 3-1. So we're now seeing a second top 4 finishing team from last season already losing their opening match. And I guess, unfortunately for both Blank and Mega, they've in some ways debatably come up against their toughest competition right on day number 1. For Blank, it's still yet to be seen. Maybe Hong Kong Attitude could still be the better team in terms of between them and Cyclops Athlete Gaming. But in Group A, with the way that Monster Shield came in through trials, back then they were known as WLG, We Love Gaming Korea, coming into this competition now as Monster Shield Korea, I think they're definitely a hot favorite in their group, and they're kind of showing that right now if they can take down Mega in this fashion on day 1.
And that's kind of the reality for it. Next map coming up, by the way, going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar. First time we're getting to go to Watchpoint Gibraltar so far. We only saw Route 66 yesterday. There's actually 3 maps in the escort pool. We only saw one of them yesterday. But just to touch on what I was saying a moment ago there, it's kind of the reality for these teams, these returning teams here. Of course, you've already mentioned both Blank and Hong Kong Attitude. Mega are among that as well. Every single season now, you know, we were saying this for Season 1 of Contenders. We even said it a little bit for Season 2 of OWC. The way ahead is kind of clear. At least it's felt like it. It's felt like, hey, maybe this is finally the time. You know, for Blank, it's the time for the Crownless Kings to finally claim their title. For Hong Kong Attitude, it's the chance to properly push into that Grand Finals, a place they've never been before. For Mega, a chance to make that Grand Finals themselves, continue their upward momentum season to season. And as with every single season, they're very quickly coming to learn who the new wave of competition is going to be. In the past, it's been the likes of Ardiant, it's been Detonator Korea. This time around, it's Cyclops Athlete Gaming and Monster Shield Korea. And
in some ways, when you look at the Mega team and the group that they're in, you kind of feel like maybe they drew the short straw here. They get put in the group with the 5 Korean teams, who everyone looking over to be as well. It's the group with basically the best of everybody else. So both Blank and Mega kind of have it difficult in various different regards in terms of who they have to go up against. And then on top of that, both playing from reasonably south logistically compared to the Korea, Japan, Taiwan mix, which is much closer together in the world map. So now for Mega, there are some hurdles to get over, but I think, and we said this about Blank yesterday as well, you trip over one hurdle, it doesn't mean they won't finish the race. So for Mega right now, can they take this map number 4 in the same manner that Blank did yesterday?
Yeah, they need to at least, I mean, even just don't need to prove it to themselves. They need to show what they are capable of. They need to show that they are still not to be trifled with as the season goes on. But if nothing else, we're certainly seeing the potential stratification of the upper echelons of Group A. Where the rest of it will fall is still a little bit more up for debate. Stacked as it may be with Korean teams, but Mega already out the gate, starting to get a bit of forward momentum here.
And I had suspected that Inzidana and Pudo did a bit of a role swap here, but now it's all but confirmed. Inzidana onto the Genji means, well, he's a projectile player, and Pudo will try again with this Widowmaker. We'll see if he can find a little bit more success than previously.
And you certainly wouldn't mind it. Apudo is a great Widowmaker. Inzidana is a great Genji. This is a swap in one regard, but it is not as uncomfortable. Oh boy, Crazy went down to Apudo. Rez straight back down to Apudo. That is Apudo looking like his finest.
Peter did go down as well, though, and Perfect gets a little bit of revenge, and it seems like this is where the push for Mega will unfortunately end, or will it? Because Apudo is actually still able to find picks on the back end.
I think the real turning point, though, is actually that Mushroom doesn't have enough health to stay in the fight. T1 as well went down. They didn't have healers that they could pull back to. MSKR, though, they're in a position where even though they didn't have the healers to pull back to, it's Mega that have to go into retreats there. But the tanks of Monster Shield were fine.
I think the groundwork here is done for Mega, though. They've got the card into a reasonable position. This is now going to open up flanks for them. They don't need to focus onto the card just yet. Gets another nice headshot on Crazy. This is the opening that Mega need.
Yeah, Crazy is not having a good time right now. Perfect, trying to keep tabs on all these sight lines here, but it's a bit of a tough proposition. Oh, Apudo has to watch out for the counter sniper, the Zenyatta. It's the true threat to any sniper.
Transfer's up now for Beppo as well. He's low. He's probably got a pop. He didn't use it.
He didn't. I don't think he expected Mushroom coming around from the backside, and now Crazy coming in on the Doomfist. Partially to have quick impacts, partially to get back into the fight quickly. Will go down. Did at least take out Enzidanar mid-Dragon Blade, but the work has already kind of been done on the side of Mega. It's actually Monster Shield looking a bit more split up, and the remaining solid core of Mega with that Transcendence on top of them can just keep marching this payload forward.
The payload just slipped back slightly, though, so this is going to give Monster Shield the ability to defend yet again. It feels like King's Row again. The cap didn't quite go on through. The cart was stalled up, and now Monster Shield, they fully regrouped. All 6 members back live. And Mushroom going to look for the magic.
Oh, nicely placed to catch Enev, who had also just finished up that Primal Rage. The catch as well on Lee J gone means no res to come in. Counterpoint to that, T1 getting res back into the fight means Mega doing just fine and dandy. Enzidanar punished a touch on the dive, but Beppo out with this Transcendence. Maybe a little bit late here, unfortunately. Lee J gone is trying to book it back as the Lucio with the extra mobility. Dive on Apudo. He's going to get out. Crazy wants to one-man this, yeah. He knows who the real threat is. Going to go right on top of Apudo. Does get him as well. And with that, Monster Shield has just started to beat back the tide here by splitting Mega apart. They've been able to pick them off one by one, and Crazy is going off on Doomfist.
It's a couple of times now that we see Crazy go into the Doomfist when things get a little bit dire for Monster Shield. Back then it was Oasis. King's Row, we even saw a little bit of the Doomfist come out. In fact, I don't actually know if we did. It feels like we did. I have to correct myself onto that one. But either way, Monster Shield, when things go slightly wrong, it seems like Crazy just pulls one out of the bag.
Even when he got headshot so many times by Apudo. Comes back on the Doomfist, going to be just fine. And like you said, feels a bit like King's Row because Mega, because MSKR had that extra opportunity to defend, have now got stopped up and are trying to find their way in again. Dive onto Perfect, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. Perfect's alive and Enzidanar is just miles away from the fight. Meanwhile, the dive on MSKR was quick and effective. The supports are dead. The self-destruct from Mushroom, not enough to trade back because even in death, Ashford gets revenge on the tank line of Mega. They don't have the members, and that's a hold from Monster Shield.
Now it's starting to look much more difficult for Mega to get this map when nigh impossible, you would even say. We were kind of hearing King's Row, we were saying, well, maybe they could get this full hold through, but the way that Monster Shield are playing right now, the way they're able to come back in and clutch some of these fights, even right in the final engagement there, everything, unfortunately, going wrong for Mega. You see Inzidana try to dive onto Perfect, doesn't clean up that kill. Perfect gets away. Not only that, though, other members of Monster Shield landed on, got that dive onto Mega, and cleaned up kills themselves. 2 kills for Monster Shield in the 5v5. No kills for Inzidana versus Perfect at the 1v1 off to the side. Both plays, unfortunately, for Mega just didn't play out. Really
keeping those DPSs, the enemy DPSs, on lockdown. They were at least trying to do that. I'll admit that. They were at least trying to dive onto Perfect, where previously they just kind of let the DPSs run rampant. But even so, A, they weren't successful. B, the other DPS still ran rampant. Crazy dived the backline and picked up 2 kills, which is like the dead opposite of what NZNR was able to achieve there. It really does just feel like 2 completely different teams at this point in time. Monster Shield are absolutely deserving the win that they have on their plate here.
Pause has been resolved. They're going to go back into the map now. The final defense, the final line of defense even for Mega here to try and get themselves this one map, this one reprieve in what was otherwise and has been otherwise a pretty one-sided affair across the board despite that one stage win on Oasis. The only thing that Mega could really get other than that, man, it's been nothing.
Down the defense. Knowing full well that the series is already in the pocket of Monster Shield Korea, Mega are now just going to desperately try and not let it be a 4-0. But when your defenses are that strong, Monster Shield, you can expect the offenses to be equally so. Mega really have their work cut out for them here. And, well, I don't know if they really brought their working boots and hard hats. They're a little bit too dressed for the office, as it were.
I'm going to say the same thing I said on Volsky here, and that's that Mega need the initiative. They need to be proactive, take the fights to Monster Shield KR, because what you can't allow to happen, like it was on Volsky, is Mega just sit back, Monster Shield find the positioning, they surround Mega, get a one-push victory. And so far, the creativity may be coming back out again. It's Perfect on to the main. What can he get done?
Only INF made that jump. It's a little bit funky. And that does mean Perfect has to swap off while he's busy doing that. Actually, the pressure from Mega has been there. It's not too bad, but it is a little bit of time wasted, effectively, for MSKR.
That's important time for Mega. This probably isn't going to be a resurrectable Apudo, which means he's going to come back from spawn. A little bit of time for Mega to play with.
That's really rough. Rocket's now way out in the middle of nowhere, going in deep to try and heal up the tanks or maybe res Apudo. That left Pichu exposed on his own. Crazy takes full advantage. Once again, Mega making some big positional errors.
The thing is, Mega wanted to play the 5v6 here. That was probably the one time where Mega can say, okay, we will fall back, wait for Apudo, get the 6v6 back in action, because going in 5v6, I guess the pluses of that is if you win, well, the defense continues, but if you lose, this happens, and now all your positioning is gone. The cart is nearly at the finish line, and Mega are nowhere to be seen.
And Monster Shield doing what Mega were unable to do in this position, get the fight win and then take up that high ground, force Mega to fight their way back into what should be their own defensive position. And already Monster Shield with that advantage, Crazy on the back line, just ripping through everyone here. This is just going to be a style point Meteor Strike, trying to deal with Apudo, doesn't even need to get the kill. 4-0 for Monster Shield Korea. First place through trials to come into Season 2, and proving deservedly so. They want to be the 3rd Royal Road Korean team here, and that's a pretty good way to start.
And the probability of finding another Royal Road and Korean team is actually quite high. We've got 5 of them that have never played professionally in the specific region before, and either one of them could be the first place finishers. I'd say statistically, it's actually fairly likely, especially if they're going to be playing to this caliber. But Crazy, wow, that was a great performance on the Doomfist. We've seen that last season with Bello and One Shine. Well, yeah, Bello, that was last season. Yeah. This season, it's all about Crazy.
This is crazy. This is the Crazy Doomfist.
Insane.
It's nuts. But I have to say, though, I do want to add a slight caveat to all this, though, because it's very easy to say, oh, group full of Koreans, yeah, it's going to be, you know, oh, it's going to be the Korea group and yada, yada, yada. Like, this is Monster Shield. This isn't Korea at all. This is Monster Shield. They are a very good team. They've already proven that by finishing first in trials. This is somewhat expected. You come in through trials with a performance as good as what they had, much like what teams in the past have done when they've qualified through trials and come out first. They expect to have good performances here. Really, this is them meeting expectations. That was good, tight play. As for all the other Korean teams in this group, don't necessarily expect the same kind of result there. Indeed, you'd be nuts to expect the same kind of result there. There is a real variance going on. Much like when back in the day of OPC Season 1, we had 4 teams all predominantly hailing from Taiwan, including Hong Kong Attitude, who at the time were about half-half between Taiwan and Hong Kong members. Some were topping the tables, some were bottoming it out. Just because there are 5 Korean teams here does not mean we're going to have an all-Korean round of 4.
And I want to say as well, for the Trials teams, like, you may think, okay, Trials teams, well, they're coming through from Trials, how good can they really be? But the really crazy, well, the crazy thing is, when you look at that, it's because the 4 Trials teams actually knocked out the 4 relegated teams from last season. So with that, though, match number 1 is done and dusted. But when we do return, it's middle of the table clashes. Talon versus Marchi, and Xavier versus, I'm going to forget Nova already, Nova Esports. That's coming up right after this break.